we are back after Memorial Day weekend. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. It is Tuesday, the 27th of May. I'm Bobby Trossett. She's Sarah Ellison. It's great to have you back with us after a long weekend. Sarah, the gift giving has already begun, crazy enough. Heather McCubbins just got us started with the channel membership that's been gifted. Thank you, Heather, and thanks to all 308 of you now, as we just counted up and tallied prior to the show, who have become channel Voltrons. You guys directly help support this show. You get a little something in return as well, depending on what tier level you sign up for. And ultimately, we really appreciate you being part of that community. So on the way in, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell. We've got a lot to get to today, Sarah. OTAs, most importantly, begins this week. We'll have some observations, some questions that we have on the tops of our minds entering the week in terms of just, roster shuffling and jobs that will be won and lost and who's going to show and not show, so on and so forth. So we'll get into that in just a bit. But Sarah, there was one thing in particular that Jeff Zaribek of The Athletic noted recently that kind of went over everybody's head when it comes to Derrick Henry, not just the contract extension that he was awarded within the last week or two, but just his sheer presence alone. And so I look forward to diving into that with you coming up in just a bit. Aside from that, Zay Flowers just made a significant move. John Harbaugh was snubbed, and a number of other things over the course of the next hour. So it's great to see you. And thank you to you, your family, your husband for the kind gesture coming off of our inaugural Vault Summit. You guys know I'm from Albany, New York. Don't get it confused with New Albany in Columbus, Ohio, baby, because that's what I'm sporting today. And it just so happens that the Eagles, my alma mater, the Bethlehem High School Eagles, was my sport team. That was my what do you call it? My mascot. My mascot in high school. So there is some interest. It's kind of ironic. And thank you. This was really nice of you guys to send.
Well, listen, it's my husband who's like the most thoughtful person. Said, let's go. Trevor went to the store and picked that out. All I had to do was put it in the mail. So I'm glad it finally arrived. And because the Vault Summit was like well over a month ago. But you are officially an honorary New Albany Eagle. That's what we are over here in Ohio. So I just love your enthusiasm for it, which, people don't know. You sent a picture of yourself in it. I showed it to my family. They all thought it was hilarious, where you're like yelling, let's go, while taking the picture. So, but man, while I missed being with everybody yesterday, Memorial Day here inside the vault, it was an awesome weekend. I hope everybody out there had a wonderful Memorial Day. It was one of those few times where because my husband works so much, where I got to spend the whole day as a family when we're not on vacation. So I feel completely refreshed, completely rejuvenated, very grateful for all the veterans and people that have served in the armed forces. Just a great weekend. And now I'm ready to get back at it with Ravens coverage.
Couldn't agree more. We'll have a quick hit on that in just a bit. I have a few words as well for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. So look forward to that towards the tail end of the show. But shall we begin with something that perhaps kind of went under the radar a little bit with number 22 showing up in Baltimore?
Absolutely. So as we know, he was signed to a contract extension. Derrick Henry, we all celebrated that last week. It was last week, right? It feels like time is not my friend.
What?
I don't know how
it wasn't, actually.
Was it 2 weeks ago, but he spoke last week? Was that how it went down?
Correct.
Okay.
And I wasn't with you for the episode after he spoke because I had the Francis plague. So crazy enough, it's been 2 weeks since the contract extension was announced. And then, to your point, the introductory after the contract extension presser was last week.
Yeah. So Jeff went on with Kevin Ostreicher over on his podcast and YouTube page. And they discussed an area that it will go over your head because Derrick Henry is not a guy that likes to put on a show for the cameras, and you need to be inside the building to really notice this kind of story that Jeff highlights when he goes on with Kevin, of just like the amount of accountability and professionalism, how he raised the level of both of those things since he came in. So I'll let Jeff discuss it on the back on his end, and then we'll get a reaction on the other.
He's a great fit for the team. He wants to be here, and for all that, for all that he did in terms of on the field and the production, everything, the touchdowns, the back-breaking runs, we all saw his impact. I just think the story that wasn't talked about as much is how he kind of raised the level of accountability and professionalism around that team. I think he certainly helped Lamar Jackson, was taking some pressure off him, and just watching how that guy goes about his business and goes to work and how hard he works and how much he's driven, to be ready, to go for on Sunday, and also to, work towards that ultimate team goal. I think that was he was a perfect figure and player to have around for when they got him. And I think it's perfect that they've continued that relationship.
So, Bobby, this isn't surprising to me. I once heard a story when Derrick Henry was a rookie for the Titans, and all the rookies were sitting in a room, and some veterans came in, and they're like, "Hey, you guys are in our spots. You need to get up." So one by one, the rookies start standing up and leaving, and then Derrick Henry stands up, and the veteran's like, "Oh, okay, not you. Never mind. You're not the typical rookie. You can kind of sit down." And what I find interesting about this from Jeff is, to the cameras, and I'm assuming with his teammates too, Derrick Henry, after he was signed last year, was like, "Hey, I'm the new guy. I'm not somebody who can come in and talk and act like, hey, just because I'm Derrick Henry and I'm coming from the Titans and I've, led the league in rushing and I've been, an AP offensive player of the year, I still have to earn my credibility and leadership role in this locker room in Baltimore." So he didn't come in guns a-blazing. And again, for the cameras, he's pretty chill. He's pretty monotone. But I have noticed, well, I'll give an example. When he did his press conference last week, Bobby, I remember he was asked about how the season ended. And basically he was like, "Hey, there's a lot of fuel here. There's a lot of fuel to work with. I'm motivated." And then he says, "The guys should be motivated. The guys should have fuel too. Like, we're all ticked off." And when you have somebody like Derrick, who didn't go to bed on the night that he's coming in to sign a multi-million-dollar extension because he didn't want to skip a workout. He had flight issues on the way out to Baltimore from Texas. And he's like, "Well, I'm not going to bed because I got to get my workout in." And so when you have somebody who eats the way he does, who plays the way he does, who works the way he does, and then I'm sure behind the scenes speaks up here and there. I remember when they were going to the playoffs, when he spoke in the locker room, he's like, "Guys, this does not come around all the time. We're going to the divisional round. This doesn't." Obviously they lost in that, but even as much as he downplays it in front of the cameras, I 100% see what Jeff's Rebick is saying in raising the professionalism and accountability. How do you not become more professional just by being in Derrick Henry's presence?
This is a first ballot Hall of Famer who, in his first season with a different organization, different team, different everything, posts over 1,900 yards, 16 rushing touchdowns, 5.9 per carry. We can talk about all the missed tackles forced and everything else, yards after contact. They're all skyrocketed. They're all through the roof. And yet he said multiple times, including that press conference during that you just alluded to, and when he spoke after the year, that he wasn't satisfied, that he wasn't happy with what took place. Yeah, there's a contagious spirit that comes along with that kind of leadership, with that kind of mastery, that less than that content but not satisfied mindset that he's brought to this organization. And obviously he and Lamar have elevated one another. I think we've talked about that time and time again. Does Derrick have the year that he had at 30, 31 now that he did last year without Lamar? Don't know. Would Lamar have had the year that he had? Well, Lamar's shown in the past that he could do whatever. It doesn't matter who's in his backfield. It certainly helps, though, when 22's back there, especially for his longevity, like we've talked about. So to me, this is just it's an ascending player at 31 who is somehow ascending like spiritually and mentally too. Like it's shocking how he's ascending physically at 31, telling the history and the cliff to go, forget about it. But the fact that he can be ascending in those other areas too is just extraordinary.
Ascending in yards per carry, best of his career. Bobby, he also went on with the lounge shortly after he had his press conference, and they put out a teaser to it. I think one thing that leaders do in raising, professionalism and accountability is they also set expectations. They set expectations, and they had some pullouts of his overall interview. You can go over to the lounge and listen to the whole interview. But I think the teaser gets to the heart of the expectation he is setting inside the locker room for every single player.
I value this organization, and I'm very thankful that they value me, and very thankful that we were both able to get something done. And I want to win a championship here, and that's why I came here. The core on offense, the talent that we have just gives everybody opportunity to make plays, and that's what makes it so fun, and a lot of young guys that make me feel young as well. So yeah, I mean, because the stigma once you get to 30, right. Man, it's they're ready to throw you to the wolves. But I try not to focus too much on the age and focus more on the work. You look back at that time, and running backs were at the bottom of the totem pole, and it was kind of looking rocky for us, and we all came together and made that group message on Instagram, and just talking about different ideas, what we can do to try to help the market. Just running up the hill is I probably do more of those than I do with the chains. The chains I do about three of those and I'm done. I take the chains off.
How heavy are the chains?
They're heavy. Especially when you get up to the middle and trying to get up to the top of the hill. You're like, ooh wee. I look back down like, I don't know if I'm going to get back up here again. Yeah, I'm serious now. I want to win. I think we can win one here, and that's what I want to do. I am confident, and that's what I'm focused on. And I'm going to emphasize that, when I get a chance to talk to the team, because I want to win. I want to win it, and I think we can win it here. We will win it here.
You're right. He slid that in the
organization, and I'm very thankful that they value
repeat
me, and very
functionality getting us there. Yeah. Well, your reaction to he had a few good lines in there, but what stands out to you?
Well, he just reminded me of that group message that was several years ago. I can't remember when it was.
Running backs, yeah,
where they kind of came together and, like he said, assessed the current state at that point prior to it kind of being rebuilt here. The running back market, he and Saquon, of course, have sort of led the charge there, and you can't do any of that without the willingness to spend, like some of these teams like Baltimore and Philadelphia and Green Bay, I think with Josh Jacobs and a number of other teams that have been willing to pay. So that was sort of like a walk down memory lane there within the last few years, and just such a quick turnaround it has been for the position, which is great. But then, kind of fitting it in there at the end, we will win it here. Right? It goes from like, we're trying to.
I'm confident.
We will win it here. And I think that's the type of confidence that's been instilled, I think, with a number of the core players that have endured a lot of these ups and downs and a lot of these so close moments in recent years. And while he wasn't there for the AFC Championship gutting loss to Kansas City, I think he understands what this.
He's had his own gutting losses before he came to Baltimore.
He has.
Yeah.
And including just what felt like a gutting overall season in what became his final year in Tennessee, where they were just a subpar team, a subpar offensive line, and really going nowhere. Mike Vrabel ends up leaving. The writing was on the wall for him. And so now he's in a place where it's the Super Bowl or bust expectations, as we so often mention, are alive and well. And so I love the confidence, the willingness to put it out there. We will win it here. I think that just sends a message to his peers, sends a message to the organization. And he ultimately comes across to me, Sarah, as somebody that leads by example, kind of like Lamar is, rather than being the boisterous Ray Lewis, Ed Reed type of personality. But what we've seen in Baltimore is that both can work.
I have so much respect for people who voice out loud big expectations, big goals, and then back it up and go and do it. And there were 3 different mentions in there, 2 of the 3 which he's done. He is pushing back Father Time. So he's like, oh, I can do hills all day long. Change it a little bit harder, so I'll just do a couple of those. But hills all day long. 31, I'm pushing back Father Time. I'm going to keep this up. Boom, he's doing it, right? Eventually, Father Time will catch up, but not at 31 for Derrick Henry. Not at 30 for Derrick Henry. Then he goes out with these other running backs, like you said, goes to the chat, the message group, and says, we're not being paid enough. And I remember at the time kind of laughing at it, Bobby. I was like, well, I don't know what a group chat is going to do. What is that going to do? Like the market's going to say what the market's going to say. And the chat alone didn't do it. But then he and Saquon went and balled out along with some other guys. And then he goes out and he doubles his pay from the Ravens. His yearly pay doubled. He goes out, he does it. He says he wants to do it to the other running backs. He goes out and does it. And now here he is saying, I'm confident. I really feel like we can. No, we will. And that will be the theme I have this year. This will be what I say. We will win it all here. I have so much respect for people who aren't just afraid to say it, but then lay everything on the line to do it. Willing to sacrifice everything to do. It's one of the reasons, Bobby, I was attracted to my husband. He's that kind of a person. Nothing gets in his way. And he's not a jerk. He's not a jerk about it. He doesn't hurt other people while he's doing it. He just goes and he always finds a way to get something done. And a lot of times it's huge. That's who Derrick Henry is. And I love him holding the team to those high expectations and bringing them along with him. And man, do we want this to come to fruition for sure here in Baltimore.
If the 1,300 plus concurrence right now, Sarah, were flies on the wall for our Vault Summit session with Trevor, they would be able to back you up on what you're saying, that he has a lot of that in him, a lot of that fearlessness, that go get it.
Yeah.
And that's what Derrick's showcasing right here. So
no excuses.
Yeah. And Sarah, this kind of now sets the tone for OTAs.
Yes.
And another key benchmark in the Ravens offseason, because that is where we are right now in the process. The draft is over. Free agency prior to that is over. The schedule release come and went. And now OTAs, mandatory mini camp, training camp, and the season is what we're working up towards. So we thought it might be fun just to kind of get you primed and ready to go, brainstorming and whatnot for OTAs, to give you our top 3, each of us, not even top 3, because I think, what you focus on is, I think your 3 are sort of the pack the biggest punch. And I think my 3, the way that I went about choosing my 3, are of great value. Now yours have value to them as well. But I think the ones that are going to be under the radar a little bit. That's the way that I view how we went about it.
I don't know what your first one is. Go your first one. I don't think that one's under the radar, but it is important, and it's not a sexy position.
No, it's not under the radar, but exactly. That's the perfect way to put it. It could get under the radar if you're worried on if you're focused on more of the topics that are going to garner headline creating type of drama or attention.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm going into the trenches, and I begin with who's getting first team reps, that is, at starting left guard. That's where I start.
Yeah.
And I think last year, it would have been really interesting had Andrew Voorhees stayed healthy. Would he have been your full-time, full 17-game starter at left guard? No one knows the answer to that. What we know is that they had Patrick McCary, the Swiss Army knife, on the roster. They don't now. He leaves in free agency. He goes to Jacksonville, and I will be very curious if Andrew Voorhees gets to essentially start where he left off last year before going down with that injury.
I think it's a fair question. For me, my question's tweaked a little bit. I'm anticipating Andrew Voorhees to get the starting role to begin OTAs. I think as the guy who won it last year, as the, guy that's been here for a while, I think it will be him. My question is slightly tweaked. Will anybody overcome Voorhees? Will anybody snatch the job from him? Because I think he's penciled in as the favorite. I think everybody will have an opportunity for sure. But could Emory Jones snatch it? Could Ben Cleveland snatch it? Or somebody else that we're not thinking of? So I think that Voorhees will get that start in the beginning of OTAs, but can anybody snatch it from him? That's my tweaked kind of question.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. And if it is Emory, just to remind everybody, we've reminded this a couple times, but Harbaugh let everybody know that Emory's dealing with that labrum injury, so don't expect him. It's like a shoulder aftermath of a shoulder labrum setback, so don't expect him during this part of the offseason. I think there's a question mark around him for training camp. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I think training camp's like the more realistic expectation. And and even then, who knows? Maybe it may not be the first day of training camp. So my question deals with Lamar. And it's not whether or not he'll show to me, and I've been consistent about this for years. I think it's important for young guys to be at all OTAs. I think if you're fighting for your job, it's important to be at OTAs. I think if you have a new offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, then I think it's important for the veterans to be there. Or if you're a veteran that just signed with the team, I think it's important for you to be there. I don't think that Lamar needs to be at all OTAs. But that obviously will be a talking point, because if he doesn't, it's going to be all over the national headlines, and then we're going to pull in the video, and then we're going to tell them why they're overreacting and all of that. It's for sure going to happen at some point in the next month or so. But I'm wondering what maybe the word is like, what I want to get Lamar's reaction to offseason moves and his contract. So Eric DaCosta has said that he would like to talk to Lamar, and I'm sure they already have. Where's Lamar at in terms of getting a contract extension and kind of redoing that deal? So I want to hear that. I want to hear his reaction to DeAndre Hopkins and that signing, Cooper Rush. I want to get his reaction to, the draft and all of that. So we just haven't heard from him since the divisional loss. And he was very open. Yeah, I loved how transparent it was. I loved how accountable he was. Thought it was a great interview. We just haven't heard from him for a while. And so I think that Lamar will be at camp at some point. I don't know when. In the past, it's kind of been maybe the second week or whatever. He's usually there for one of the 3 weeks. He'll stay for the 3 days of that week of whatever he shows up. So whenever he does, I'm looking forward to him being at podium and just getting his reaction to all those things, because we haven't heard from him since January.
Yeah, hard not to have that in one of our three, and obviously that would be on my three as well. If we were to have done them individually, we built these out together. So I'll go with number 2, Tyler Loop. Obviously the rookie kicker no longer, Sarah, has to live in a world where he would have been, or at least was for a very short time, living in Justin Tucker's shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would Justin have made him live in his shadow had that been a competition? Of course not. I think he would have been a good teammate and whatnot, but that would have been a battle, and that would have been a storyline, and that would have been covered and perhaps over-covered and over-analyzed and over-dissected. And that could have been a deterrent, ultimately. That could have been a challenge that Tyler Loop, as a rookie out of Arizona, would have had to endure with already everything else he's enduring right now, as all rookies do coming into camp. Now, Tyler's enduring a little bit more, though, because this is his job to lose. He has a legitimate chance right now of being the successor of not only the most accurate kicker in NFL history, but somebody that was a staple in Baltimore, a staple in the Ravens organization. And so I don't know how much we will actually see of him, Sarah, throughout the OTA sessions, but any chance I get to watch from afar how he handles, whether it's the limelight, the questions, or just the overall football transition, I know I'm going to be looking for that, because this is a big spot to walk in as a rookie in this era of Ravens football, where it's essentially do or die, Super Bowl or bust. And when AFC North football in January can often be decided by, fractions of points, mistakes, so on and so forth, you're going to need your kicker when it matters.
Tyler Loop is going to be, I don't know, maybe top 3, maybe top 5 Ravens most under pressure this year. Certainly in OTAs. It always switches to Lamar, because that's where all of the It's the quarterback, and that's what all the national people talk about. Maybe Derrick Henry's up there. You can put your first round draft pick up there, right? He's going to have to probably start from week 1. But Tyler Loop's going to be up there with the fact that he's coming in off the heels of the most accurate kicker of all time and the way he left, and that, you know what, they said, we don't want that distraction. We're not even going to let there be a competition with Justin Tucker. They brought in another kicker for Justin Tucker. There's going to be a ton of pressure on him. I definitely put him in like the top 3 or 5. I need to like think through the list of who's most under pressure. Tyler Loop is definitely in there.
Yeah.
My next question is for the OTAs. I'm most excited to read and see and hear about the top 2 rookie defenders in the first and second round, in Malachi Starks and Mike Green. I think both of them have an opportunity to make a big impact if they can step up. Malachi Starks, because of our Darius Washington's injury, I believe will be looked upon to start week 1. If AD was still here, then I think they could have done the more the Nate Wiggins route and kind of eased him into more of a starting role like they did for him last year. So everybody talks about his football IQ, all that kind of stuff. He's going to need to be able to jump in right away. So that'll be huge. And then Mike Green, I just need to know, he's not going to need to start. He's not going to need to, like, we have KVN and Odafe Owe coming off of double-digit sacks for each of them. So they can ease in Mike Green. But I want to know, there's so many people when they first came in, Bobby, we heard from OTAs in training camp. You would hear about guys who would become great. Isaiah Likely is like one of the newest. I remember early raving reviews of Isaiah Likely before the season even started as a rookie. I remember it. Shoot, I can go all the way back to Ray Rice and people being like, oh, he's going to be huge. I'm trying to think of other guys that ended up just becoming champs, from Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum. And so if you truly are going to become like a Pro Bowl, all pro type level, and Isaiah Likely hasn't even been there yet because he hasn't had the opportunity, in part of the is in part one of the reasons. I want to know if there's big talk about Mike Green early. And it's going to be tough because he can't actually touch the quarterback. But there are ways to know. Just like running backs couldn't be tackled. There are ways to know. And I'm very interested to hear what the early reviews will be from OTAs to training camp on Mike Green.
Oh, yeah. A lot of intrigue there for sure. My third and final question entering OTAs is, which player or players, plural, entering a contract year might show up to go above and beyond, might put their best foot forward and then some to try and send a message. And we know there's plenty of these types of players that are entering the final years of their deals. It's the entire tight end room. It's Tyler Linderbaum. It's Odafe Owe. It's Kyle Van Noy, so on and so forth. But how can you not kind of put the hyper focus on a player like Mark Andrews, Sarah? Because not only because of the way that his season ended last year, but because, again, he is one of those tight ends. He is one of those players whose future in Baltimore is uncertain. I think we all probably agree that this might be it for him in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. They have Isaiah Likely, not under contract after this year, but somebody who everybody is extremely high on, and you feel like has not even coming anywhere close to reaching his ceiling, which is intriguing in and of itself. But what will Mark Andrews be, and what could become his final season? And how will he go about essentially righting last year's wrong? There were so many rights last year for him, but ultimately everybody has one sour taste left in their mouth coming off that divisional round game. He understands that. I think he understands that, and I expect him to be extremely meticulous with his upcoming season, whether it be through the media, which I know is something that you're craving and want, which I get, and others believe that as well. They want to hear from Mark. They want Mark to answer some tough questions. Yes, he released a statement after last year. Let's see if he ends up taking some OTA sessions, media availability. But I think out of all the pending free agents, or I should say, players that are going into the final year of their deal, just from an observation standpoint, somebody that I'm going to be really interested to sort of study this year on and off the field is number 89.
Odafe is probably at the top of that list of those guys going to contract here, because I know who Linderbaum is. I know who Kyle Hamilton is, and I feel like they're going to take care of him. I'm very interested to see what, and we've got a couple videos from him later, but Odafe Owe, I think, is high on that list for me also.
Sure.
My third and final question for OTAs is I'm excited to get a first look at 2 of their veteran signings, maybe 3 of their veteran signings. DeAndre Hopkins, which is why I would like to see Lamar in there at least 1 week. We would like to see Lamar and DeAndre kind of, throwing some passes to each other, start early chemistry, start getting on the same page. So I'm very excited to get a first look at DeAndre Hopkins. Chido Awuzie, I'm very excited to see him. Remember, he could start too. He's going to be playing a lot as long as he's healthy with Brandon Stevens gone. And so I'm excited to see how he fits in and how he looks. And then we will probably see a lot of Cooper Rush. Lamar Jackson doesn't need these reps. Even if Lamar's there at OTAs, these younger guys need the reps. They're not going to get them throughout the year. They're not going to get as many during training camp. They'll have them in training camp. You need to give days off to the vets. But we're going to see a lot of Cooper Rush. And I just want to get a feel for him, how he fits in this offense. We've talked about how obviously him and Lamar have 2 very different playing styles. So how does that work? How does Todd Monken kind of switch up the offense for his starting quarterback versus his backup quarterback, and how that all works? So I'm interested in getting a first look at those new veterans that were signed over the offseason.
Certainly. And we're going to do exactly that. OTAs get underway today. Media availability scheduled for later this week. You and I, of course, will be following it closely, as we always do here inside the vault. Before we transition topics, shall we get to some super chats and get caught up to speed on the gift giving that's been taking place so far today? Let's see. So we started with 307 Voltrons to begin the day. Heather, Park Heights Prophet, King Lee, Heather again, and Park Heights Prophet have all given gifts. So that brings us to 312 in total. Heather was one of them, like I mentioned. PHP, he showed up today. Park Heights Prophet getting his week started with a gift. King Lee became a new channel member, so welcome to official Voltron membership, King. Heather and Park Heights Prophet, on top of their initial gifts, gave one as well. So thank you all. Appreciate you guys. We're up to 312. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a little fireworks started here and get to 350 before it's all said and done. Thank you. Sarah WT Edits flies in with a $20 orange banner for us with a super chat attached to it.
See, he's feeling generous, but it's us who should be generous to him because of this news. He said, "Hey, Bobby and Sarah, I've been listening since my sophomore year in high school, and I am now a graduating senior. Love y'all's show, and God bless you both." Thank you, WT Edits. What's funny is it is graduation season. Just yesterday, we went to a barbecue for a young lady who's graduating that used to babysit our kids. But obviously, everybody knows that you come to the graduation parties and you like to drop off a little check, right? That's what you usually do to help them on their way into adulthood. They got to start paying for things that they didn't have to before, leaving mom and dad's nest. And so look at him. He's reversing it. The graduate who probably needs money as he goes into college or maybe a trade or a job or whatever. So we appreciate you and congratulations on your graduation.
Certainly echo those sentiments. It's also a moment for sort of a reflection too, because late July will be 3 years since we launched our audio only show. And then in October, we decided, we should probably get started on YouTube
video.
Good thing we did. And, but doesn't that make you stop for a second? Like he's been with us throughout his entire high school journey, which is super cool. So awesome. Big congrats. Douglas H. Brown Sr., a channel member, writes, "Thanks for being here, guys. And I hope your move is going well, Bobby. I used to live in St. Petersburg." Appreciate that, Douglas. And just to let everybody know, I am obviously not in Baltimore at the moment. I'm in upstate New York. For the next 3 months, I am going to be working remotely from my mother's, and we have a laundry list of tasks that I'm sure, Sarah, at some point will become a one more thing topic and a segment. Nothing yet. We had a really productive day yesterday, but I will be here working on the house for another summer, traveling as well, working with you, and then heading on down to St. Pete to try a little change of scenery for the fall and beyond, starting on September 1st. So I'm sure I'll talk more about it in the coming weeks, but I appreciate that, Douglas. And DRE Dog 679, Sarah, is celebrating 2 months of channel membership.
Here we go, DRE Dog. He says things to look out for. Special teams, linebacker next to Rowe. I know you think that Buchanan can maybe take over the job there, so that'll be a fun competition between him and Trenton Simpson. He says pass rushers. Does Ojabo make this team? Honorable mention, how will our Starks hold up being forced to start next to Kyle day one? Yep.
Those are good ones.
Those are good ones.
Those are really good ones. And I think Ojabo is going to have a big target on his back in terms of the difficult task in front of him, given his lack of availability through the last few years since he was drafted in the second round. This will be year what for him? It'll be year 3 or 4, one of those two.
Yeah. But you know what I think actually could help save Ojabo is the special exception they give for roster spots for international players.
Yes.
Including on the practice squad, I believe, during the season.
Correct, because he's technically 91 at this moment.
Yeah. So he may not make the 53. I doubt he would make the 53.
Yeah.
But I could see him sticking around as that extra practice squad player.
Sure. Over 1,900 concurrents and counting on this Tuesday. We hope you had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Thank you guys for being with us today. Please like the video on your way in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're dropping our daily live content. Sarah, Zay Flowers gears up for year 3. That means he has 2 more years left under his rookie deal. So it's somewhat notable when you get this news.
1 year plus 5th year option if they exercise it. Right?
Correct.
Oh, no, you're right. 3rd year plus 4th year, and then maybe 3 years then with the 5th year option.
Correct. So it's just noteworthy that Adam Schefter of ESPN just earlier this morning tweeted that he has signed with Patrick Whitesell's new sports agency. It's the Win Sports Group for representation. He goes from LAA Sports to now Win Sports Group. And while he's still, again, a couple of years out and under team control, it's just something that you got to watch, Sarah, because this is a player that I know you and I both believe could very well buck the trend when it comes to Baltimore's team building habits that we've witnessed over the years, spending or lack thereof on homegrown wide receivers that they have drafted. Could he be the outlier? Certainly trending in that direction.
Well, here's what's interesting, Bobby. You're correct that the Ravens have him under contract for 2, maybe 3 more years. But we also know that rookies become eligible for a new contract after their 3rd year. Right? So after this next year, he will be eligible. So I don't know if this new representation would push for that. Maybe the Ravens would want to do that. Eric DeCosta likes to get ahead of contracts. It's the opposite of what we've seen in Cincinnati, where they wait almost too long and then have to pay premium dollar by waiting so long. And so, you know what? If Zay Flowers wanted to make a move to push for a contract after his 3rd year, because he's at this point, he was a 1,000-yard receiver, first Pro Bowl receiver. We've predicted that if the Ravens finally pay market money to a wide receiver, which I don't know that they've ever done, that person would be Zay Flowers, because they like to pay their own. They like to keep their own. And so if anybody can buck that trend, it would be Zay Flowers. And so if he would like to push for a new contract after this 3rd year, he's going to want to follow it up with a 2nd Pro Bowl. He's going to want to follow it up with another at least 1,000-yard season plus, right? And so I'm intrigued by this. He's making a move to somebody that he obviously thinks puts him in a better position to help represent him. And so let's go, Zay Flowers. Like, put pressure. John Harbaugh says this, and I think it can be applied to the front office also. John Harbaugh always says to his players, make it so I don't even have a decision to make. Force me to play you. Force me to start you. Force me to where it's like I have no choice but to put the ball in your hands. He can do the same thing with Eric DeCosta. You know what I mean? Force Eric DeCosta to have to make a decision and that's his job. That's Eric DeCosta's job. When I say force him, I don't mean just by like the the social media stunts that we see players do sometimes, removing pictures of you in a Ravens uniform and, not making mention of all that. I mean, you can all do that. But the real way you force a front office to do things is by playing lights out. Playing lights out. So if Zay Flowers goes out as another 1,000-yard season, goes to the Pro Bowl, stays healthy through the playoffs, is an integral part in perhaps a Super Bowl run, as Derrick Henry said, then yeah, he can make a case for himself after this year.
1,059 was the receiving yards total in his sophomore season. 74 receptions on 116 targets. He played in all 17 games. Yes, he was banged up in the postseason, but he proved to be durable all throughout the year, as he did his rookie season as well, playing in all 16 games. They didn't have to play the 17th. Obviously, they rested their starters that you guys might remember. But one of the statistics that stands out to me the most, Eric, because I think it's so symbolic of who Zay Flowers is the yards after the catch. Of those 1,059, 596 came after the catch. So not only is he durable.
Those wide receiver screens, right? Just like throw it over to him. Go, Zay, go.
I was going to say the screens help that number. Yes, they do. But what I'm getting at, and you already know.
Yeah.
The Zay Flowers relentlessness, the refusal to go down, the willingness to go through you, over you, around you, you name it, has led to another element of explosiveness in the Lamar-led offense. And so that's the number that I keep kind of harping on, because I think, to me, that's what makes Zay Zay. That's what makes him different than a player that was similar in terms of measurables to him in Marquise Brown. That's the difference between the two. Marquise was either going to run around you, or he was going to run out of bounds at times.
Or just
Zay is willing to do whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think that while they have similar measurables, Zay is built like an ox. And so not only is he willing to run through you, he wants to. And so there's a difference between the two. And I think ultimately he's just on that. He's trending towards what you just suggested, being a homegrown Raven that starts to buck the trend here at the wide receiver position and ultimately gets paid what he deserved and what he deserves in the coming seasons.
One other thing that's been under the radar, I mean, we've covered it. We really didn't talk about how big it was for him. Another thing that sets him up for a good season is he never had to have surgery. Like when he finished injured in the playoffs last year, we didn't know if he would need to have surgery. And then last time John Harbaugh spoke, he said, nope, he's back to 100%. He was able to do it without having any surgery. And so, he was able to avoid that. Nobody wants to come back from surgery. That's never fun. That puts you behind the 8 ball. So he can come into OTAs. He can come into training camp. He can come into the season fully healthy without ever having to have surgery to fit. It was his knee, right? It was his knee.
Yeah. I'm glad you just brought that up, because that was probably worthy of, speaking of under the radar or things that went right over your head, like the way we started our show with regarding Derrick Henry. That might fall in that category, don't you think?
For sure. Absolutely. Not talked about enough. Big dodged a bullet on that one for sure.
No question.
Meanwhile, this was funny to me. Muse, okay. I like that website. But they set Josh Allen up. I couldn't help myself. Bobby, you tell me how I was going to see this tweet and then just move along with my day and just keep scrolling. Like they
I think, to be honest with you, whoever's the admin of StatMuse FB, they might have had you in mind when they crafted this tweet.
Like, how could they do this? How could they do this? So over the weekend, which I missed because I was offline for most of the weekend. So I come on this morning, getting ready for the show, trying to find some content for today. There's been plenty. So StatMuse puts up, Josh Allen won 2024 NFL MVP. 4,269 yards, 41 touchdowns, 8, I'm assuming that's turnovers. No? Between fumbles and interceptions?
TOV.
Turnovers. That's all I could come up with.
What the heck is TOV?
Chat's going to have to help us out.
All right.
Anyway, whatever it is, they put a picture of Josh Allen there. They say, how many quarterbacks are better? And I'm like, wait a minute here. Stat Muse is making a claim that Josh Allen was better based off of stats? Because everybody knows that Lamar was robbed of MVP because Lamar clearly had the better stats. And for all the Buffalo Bills fans that still listen to us to this day, they'll say, well, Josh Allen should have won it in 2023 if we were doing it off the stats. And it's like, no, those 17 interceptions is a stat. And that stat sunk his ship. Okay. So how can I wake up this morning, see this tweet justifying his MVP on the stats, and they say how many quarterbacks are better? I had to quote retweet this, and I put at least one, and then I put up my graphic that I will keep using as long as I can, especially during the offseason, that puts up Lamar Jackson stats of 2024, which blew everybody out of the water. Yes, Josh Allen had 4,269 total yards. Lamar Jackson had 5,087 total yards. He was the first quarterback ever to pass for 4,000 plus and rush for 900 plus in a single season. Yes, he had 41 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson had 45. He had only 4 interceptions to his 41 passing touchdowns, which was the best interception rate in NFL history among quarterbacks with 40-plus passing touchdowns. He had 119.6 passer rating, which was, that's right, third in NFL history. How many quarterbacks were better in 2024, especially best off the stats? Stat Muse just begged me to dunk on this tweet. They begged me to. And so who am I not to oblige? Who am I not to oblige? I'm a person of the people. I'm a woman of the people, Bobby. Can you blame me?
Well, they put it right on a platter for you, and you were just doing what they asked you to do. They indirectly asked you to do this, and you decided to follow suit. So there you go.
There we go.
And you weren't done bringing in Stat Muse. It is a busy timeline today for Stat Muse FB, who tweeted out that the most games with 5+ passing touchdowns by active quarterbacks is held by Lamar and Patrick. They will be facing off in Kansas City this year, regular season. Looking forward to that matchup, of course. But that is more than Aaron Rodgers has had in his entire career, by the way, they note. So a little subtle jab, not so subtle jab at A-Rod, but Lamar and Mahomes lead the way, right? Why'd they pick Aaron?
I know. It's kind of funny.
I guess Aaron puts himself in a position to kind of get gotten after at times when people see fit. But that's an impressive number. It's an impressive number by 2 impressive quarterbacks, and we're going to see that matchup again, Ravens-Chiefs, coming up this fall.
Hey, just because we're on the topic, I know we're not doing, all the super chats yet, but I just like to do it when we're talking about it, when I see it come in, so it's on topic. But PHP, he's generous and he speaks his mind. So he says MV pity in full effect, MVP athletic. MV pathetic. There we go. MV putrid. Lamar is above the MVP lease. Let him win it. Oh, MV please. Okay. I got to start all over. He's got these. Okay. MV pity in full effect. MV pathetic. MV putrid. Lamar is above the MV please. Let him win it. And the paper tiger, who is concerned about schedules and contracts and not about making the playoffs when Lamar is healthy, he says, F them all.
That was definitely worthy of another reread because, first of all, good on you for getting it just 2 times. Because I think if I had gone on, I would have gone like, oh, MVP athletic. No, not MVP athletic. So well done there. But Park Heights Prophet. That was easier said than done, reading that thing in one shoot. But we appreciate you, as always, showing us love. What else do we have in this section? For John Harbaugh, of course, Nick Wright, first things first. They recently put together according to Nick's perspective, the top 10 NFL head coaches, Sarah, and notably, John Harbaugh is snubbed. His brother Jim finds his way into the top 5 category, according to Nick Wright, who just made his way back to the NFL and is a darn good coach at both levels. He has proven exactly that. But John, not Jim, is on this list. John is snubbed. Jim is in the top 5 at 4. And here's his top 10 overall for the audio-only audience. Andy Reid, of course, is number 1. Sean McVay is 2. Kyle Shanahan gets 3. Harbaugh is 4, meaning Jim. Mike Tomlin rounds out the top 5. Kevin O'Connell is 6 in Minnesota. Matt LaFleur in Green Bay is 7. Pete Carroll, new organization, new opportunity at what? Is he 70 yet? He's got to be close to it.
He's up
Pete
there.
Carroll is 8 in Vegas. Dan Campbell in Detroit is 9. And Sean Payton in Denver rounds out his top 10. The honorable mentions, John Harbaugh, Mike Vrabel, DeMeco Ryans. Your initial reaction to Nick's list?
Well, first of all, Pete Carroll 73. So just an FYI on that. Okay. Listen, I think we've joked before about how there was a poll that was taken where 96% of people said they approve of Eric DeCosta's job as GM. And then we joked how all 4% are in the vault every single day. Whatever percentage of Ravens fans are not John Harbaugh fans, they're inside the vault every single day too, it feels like. And I think even some of the biggest John Harbaugh haters, not all of them, but I think even some of the biggest critics of John Harbaugh could say that this is objectively wrong to not put him in at least a top 10 of current coaches. His own brother, as Jim Harbaugh, I don't think has ever beat John when they've gone head to head in the NFL as head coaches. I don't think he's ever beat him. Maybe in the preseason. I don't think so. Like John beat him in the Super Bowl. He's beat him on Thanksgiving night. He's beat him whenever. And so I don't, and listen, I got love for Jim, but how can you put Jim number 4 and his brother who has his number not even in the top 10? Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh, I put very close together. So again, I don't see how you can have Mike Tomlin 5 and then John out of the 10. I don't know what Matt LaFleur has done. You know what I mean? Dan Campbell, he seems like a super likable coach. I like him. I might even put him higher. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. How you don't put him in the top 10. Now let me give you some context. So, because I do have some audio, because he just barely briefly mentions Harbaugh, which makes sense because he was only an honorable mention. But the topic came up because Nick Sirianni was just extended by the Philadelphia Eagles after back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. Was it back-to-back? No, 2 Super Bowl appearances in 3 years, and then he won it last year. Eagles won it last year. So he gets the extension. And Nick is like, but he's not elite. I don't even have him in my top 10. And so they're arguing like, well, is there anybody else that you don't have in your top 10 because you won't give him you take away the team's success away from the head coach? And he says, yeah, John Harbaugh.
Well, it's Howie Rose.
Right.
No. So that's
what other coach in the league do you not give credit for his team's success?
What do you mean?
Like, you apparently don't give Sirianni credit. You give it to the GM.
John Harbaugh.
You give it to the players.
John Harbaugh, who was on my honor.
He doesn't get any success, any credit for the success?
I give it to overwhelmingly to Lamar and then to the front office for the draft and the roster. I just picked one out of a guy that I think most of the success goes to, Sean McDermott.
Do you think Harbaugh's a good coach, John Harbaugh?
Yeah, I think he's a good coach.
All right, what do you think of his reasoning there, Bobby?
I think it's whack like his list is. I think his list is whack. I think Tomlin should be outside the top 10. I think Harbaugh should be outside the top 10, meaning Jim. I think Kevin O'Connell should be in the top 5. I think Pete Carroll at this point in his career, like you just confirmed, is 73. I think he's an all-timer. I wish him the best in his new adventure. Hard to believe that an organization thought that a 73-year-old is capable, and maybe he is capable. But at 73, he's closer towards the back nine, currently on the back nine, approaching Amon Corner, if you will, for the golf reference out there in terms of what he has left in the tank. I know he is a young, and I mean a young 73, but at this point in his career with a new organization, I would have him outside my top 10. I would have Harbaugh in the top 10. I would have Nick Sirianni in the top 10. I mean, this list is whack.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some truth to that, like Lamar helps John Harbaugh win. Obviously, John Harbaugh won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. Then people will try to say, well, that was because of Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. And I don't want to take away from Ed or Ray, but they were definitely at the end of their careers too. And that season was not great. And then, really, Joe Flacco just went on an incredible run. But if you're going to do that to John Harbaugh and say, well, I take away success because of Lamar, then you have to do that to everybody. Andy Reid didn't win a Super Bowl without Patrick Mahomes. He went to the NFC Championship game a few times with the Eagles, but he never won a Super Bowl without Mahomes. Who is Bill Belichick without Tom Brady? Well, Walsh had Montana, Steve Young. Like, if you go back and find me any great head coach, and there's a great quarterback with him. So I have a hard time punishing Harbaugh for having Lamar, but you don't punish anybody else for their quarterbacks. Like Sean McVay, I think he's great. And Matt Stafford isn't Lamar Jackson, but he's a good quarterback, And so LaFleur has Love, who isn't, again, Lamar, but they haven't done anything either. And so, like, again, you go back and you find great coaches. Almost all of them have great quarterbacks along the way. And so Mike Tomlin, he won a Super Bowl when he had Roethlisberger. He hasn't since. He's been more of like a 500 coach. He gets them to about 8-8, sometimes sneaks into the playoffs, but without a great quarterback, he hasn't done much. And if you put John Harbaugh on a lot of teams, I think he'd have them right where Mike Tomlin always has the Steelers, right on that edge of making the playoffs, even if he didn't have Lamar. Lamar definitely puts it over the top where it's like, as long as he's healthy, they're going to the playoffs. And so I just don't get why you punish Harbaugh for having Lamar, but you're not going to punish other coaches for their great quarterbacks. I just think it's inconsistent and therefore unfair to Harbaugh.
Agreed.
All right.
All right.
A couple more super chats before quick hits.
Yes, let's do that.
Get that off there.
Here. I think we left off with
one above Park Heights because I cut him in.
Correct, which brings us here in DRE Dog 679, who addresses you.
Let's see, DRE Dog, Sarah, would you be open to doing a pre-recorded Sunday message about faith? I know y'all be busy, especially during the summer, but I'd love to see us add some God to this channel. I've been asked that a few times, not necessarily in a super chat. I've definitely got it on Twitter quite a few times. And because I've been asked so often, I've thought about this quite a bit. And Bobby, that's number one in my life is my faith. And I put everything secondary to it. And I love to talk about it. And I get the opportunity to teach a lot at church, this and that. So there could be some overlap. Time, he knows. He said here, he's like, I know you guys are busy. And so timing is really it. It's all about time. But I am open to it. I don't know if Bobby's open to it. This is a joint channel, so we would have to talk about that. But I've always thought about that for years. It's you guys think I'm passionate about Lamar and all that. It's like another level. So I've thought about it. I just don't know what to do with it at this point yet.
Hey, as far as I'm concerned, we have a new editor, and if we're living in a world a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, this channel has multiple playlists of topics and areas of life, and the Bobby Batzler side of things, where I keep you up to speed on my dating life, and you open up more about your faith in a different playlist, and these things are recorded separately. I mean, what an amazing like evolution of the channel that would be. So
yeah,
everything's on the table for where we're headed.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Nuno, who's celebrating 2 months of Voltron channel membership, agrees with some of, I think you and I both agree with this, that Sirianni missing on the list is bananas. More than John. Nick is goofy. And another one from DRE Dog 679. Feeling generous on this Monday. Appreciate you, Dre. For you, partner.
Dre says, with the talent we have on this roster, many of them would have at least one Super Bowl, especially with Lamar. We got to be real. I feel like the Ravens for sure should have a Super Bowl by now. I can't disagree with that.
Yep.
By the way,
Chris.
Chris M speaking to the chat. The chat suddenly became very divided on that question from J-Dog on whether or not I would do a pre-recorded videos on God, and as you said, it would be a separate playlist. And Chris is like, y'all know that those that don't want it, you don't have to watch. Like, we're not going to put it in the live show. Like, it would be a separate playlist. So thank you, Chris. Like, those that don't want it, I get it. You don't want to hear it. It would be a separate. You just don't click on it.
So, yeah, that's exactly why he said pre-recorded.
yeah.
So good stuff. Thanks, Dre. I think we're fully caught up on Super Chats, over 2,300 concurrents right now. Tila, thanks for being with us today, guys. It's Tuesday the 27th. Of course, we're coming off Memorial Day weekend, and we know John Harbaugh. Not only is John a man of faith, but he's somebody that has always acknowledged those who have served, those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. The Ravens put up this graphic yesterday on social media with Kyle Hamilton running out with what looks to be a member of the United States Army, either past or present. I'm guessing present with the American flag. That's a chilling image right there, Sarah, in the best of ways, coming out of the bank. It's just, man, I can think of times over the years where home openers, because it typically lands somewhere around the 11th, right? The 11th of September. And that big flag is flanking M&T Bank Stadium. They do it different when it comes to honoring this country. And hopefully everybody had a chance to do that this past weekend, wherever you were and however you really, it's a day of remembrance. It's a day of celebration. And I know I took a few minutes during my yard work as I was listening to Toby Keith to do exactly that. Cause you and I get to do this if not for years and years and years of worth of sacrifice. There's no chance you and I will be able to enjoy this on a daily basis, building this channel out. And we're able to do that. We're a byproduct of those who have served before us. So I know there's many of you in our audience that I've interacted with over the years who currently serve, who have served. And we want to salute you guys absolutely yesterday, today, and every day moving forward. Thank you so much for honoring our country, and we honor you today, certainly.
Yeah, it was nice yesterday. I mean, you always feel like you could do more. Obviously, everybody always can to honor all those who have served and sacrificed. And so but I enjoy having a day. I enjoy having a day where you have off. And yesterday we were, able to do a flag folding and have a moment of silence and, listen to taps and all that kind of stuff. And then had a couple of veterans, speak to us. This was at a morning kind of like barbecue at the church yesterday. And, a couple of veterans spoke, and it was just like nice to be there with my family, my kids, and listen to that and kind of have that moment of silence and just give just a little bit of gratitude on one day. I know that you could do it on other days, and you could do it more, but it's nice to have one day set apart for it.
You're right. Every time you do it, you think to yourself, all right, what can I do next year?
Yeah.
To actually spend my entire day, either from an educational standpoint or whatever it might be. What can I do so that I dedicate an entire day to remembrance, to paying tribute to whatever it is? And so I'll just throw that out. I'm going to hold myself accountable right now. What can I do next year on Memorial Day weekend to further that acknowledgement, to further that salute? So just throw that out there. Maybe you guys will follow along as well. Let's continue on with the quick hits here. Just some calendar noteworthy nuggets here beginning this upcoming weekend, just a few days from now. The Eastern Shore Takeover goes down. It's beach week for the Ravens. May 29th through the 31st. There's going to be a number of gatherings. I'm sure you maybe took part in this, Sarah, earlier on in your career. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But I know I've been there before when I was with the radio stations. But looks like there's going to have, mural unveilings in Fruitland. There's going to be Poe appearances with the Delmarva Shorebirds at Purdue Stadium on the 29th, 7:05 first pitch. You've got an Ocean City Roost Parade in downtown Ocean City on the 31st at 10 a.m. So go check that out at BaltimoreRavens.com. And then again, for programming purposes, week 3, Washington. It's at Washington down in Landover, Saturday, August 23rd. The kickoff is now set. That's 12 noon. So I think previously, Sarah, there was just, hey, this is when we're going to be playing our third and final preseason game.
Yeah.
But now you have the corresponding kickoff. So mark your calendars accordingly for August prior to the dog days coming right up.
How do you feel about that last one at noon on a Saturday?
Not great, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
They had one last year, and I can remember, I think you had something going on during one of the preseasons last year. And I know I did a watch with me live stream.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. I kind of remember liking it, but then I thought to myself, this would never work during the regular season. Anyway, yeah, the 23rd, I got to check my calendar. It's always strange, right? A 12 noon game on a Saturday in August is always a strange experience. But
yeah, well, will the college season be going yet?
Not yet. I don't think so.
Okay.
It'll probably be the weekend that follows that, or it could be that one. There should be one more in there.
The NFL would compete with that. I don't think, at least traditionally, they haven't.
I think the 30th is more along the lines of the
College
30th and the 6th right there is kind of when he'd be in full swing. But yeah, Thursday, August 7th, home game against the Colts. Week 2 is at Dallas. That's also a Saturday game, 7 o'clock, the 16th. And then the 23rd, Saturday, week 3 at Washington. So we'll see. I know at one point here, I'm going to be in, well, whatever. You and I will talk schedules. That feels like a lifetime from now, doesn't it? With everything that we're going to
I just want to get through this week.
Like you and I are literally, you're going to be doing.
Oh, man, I'm so excited.
Yeah, you have a Europe trip coming up. I have an Asia trip coming up. John leaves today, by the way. Need some good. My mom is calling for prayer, as much prayer as possible. She's a little worried right now.
Sure.
John is going to Asia for 2 months.
By himself, right? Until you get out there?
To begin the trip. He'll be with his boys in about a week from now. But my youngest brother is doing a post-grad 2-month backpack, and he flies to Tokyo today. So we're fired up for him. And I look forward to a month from today seeing that boy in downtown Hong Kong. It'll be good. More quick hits. What else you got in here?
Okay, this was funny. Obviously, we know the Orioles season is not going great. So Kevin Ostreicher over the weekend posted a photo of when Lamar Jackson threw out the first pitch. I feel like it's been a couple years at this point. He says the pitcher the Orioles need right now with Lamar there. So then Lamar's teammates start roasting him. Zay Flowers, I believe, was the one to get it started, and he quote retweets that. And you should probably do these because you're the announcer. He's like, gone. Another home run for Zay Flowers on the day. This kid is amazing. Basically saying that he's getting a couple of home runs on Lamar pitching. Isaiah Likely, who loves to troll Lamar, says, bang! And there you have it, folks. The third home run hit from Likely. This kid's having a career day.
These guys.
Then Malik Cunningham coming in out of nowhere. He says Cunningham up at bat. Jackson walks him after a long day on the mound. Think it's time to relieve him for the day.
These guys, they're all piggybacking off one another. How about Isaiah bringing in a Mike Green basketball reference with bang to baseball? Gotta love it.
Is that what it is?
Sure seems like to me he's bringing in the classic bang reference from the great Mike Breen, ESPN play-by-play broadcaster.
I don't watch enough baseball to know. Sorry.
Well, no, basketball. You watch basketball.
But
that's a basketball reference.
He says bang in basketball when they like nail a shot.
He's bringing in Mike Green's iconic bang call when a 3-pointer is made.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well,
typically it comes in like it comes in like crazy dramatic fashion. Maybe that's what he's doing, maybe not. But this from Kevin came at a point of dire straits for the Orioles when I think they were losing 19-5 to the Red Sox. The ironic part about life for the Orioles since this tweet is they have their first 3-game win streak of the season. Things are still in dire straits, but they have won 3 straight games and they hope to continue that. And they better hope to continue that because, Sarah, the AL East is not getting any easier anytime soon.
Okay, more quick hits. This is interesting, Bobby. So Ari Mirov tweeted this out saying that NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, he said owners had a lengthy discussion at the league meetings about the salary cap system, how well it's working, whether teams are operating with its intended spirit. And that intended spirit is try to make things as equal as possible across all 32 teams. And what changes might be needed in the next round of collective bargaining with the players' union. In short, owners are already looking ahead to potential changes to keep the system fair, competitive, and free of loopholes. What loopholes, might you ask? Well, Brett Coleman, who's a film guy, national film guy, has like
stud YouTuber. Stud.
Yeah. On Twitter, he has like 250,000 followers, something like that. I don't know what he's got on YouTube.
He and Tom Grossi in the YouTube space are a couple of the OGs. They are beasts.
Okay. Well, he says, translation to Ari's tweet, the league is likely concerned that cash-rich owners use void years and rolling option bonuses to continually push contracts higher and higher in terms of cash flow, but lower in terms of cap hits. And quote unquote poorer owners, none of them are super poor, but in terms of competition with the other 31, the poorer owners can't really replicate that. Okay. And so obviously there's cash and then there's the cap, and everybody's supposed to stay under a cap. But once you start using void years and you keep pushing it down, you're like, well, I just found a loophole because I'll just keep pushing things down with these void years, and I can keep playing people up front. So I'm able to keep people here, but my owner has the cash to do that. Maybe an owner like, what's his bucket in Cincinnati doesn't have that type of cash, but maybe a Steve Bisciotti does. Right. And so you have seen the Ravens use void years more often recently. And we've definitely seen the Eagles do it. And so this will be very interesting if they're going to try to close that loophole so you don't keep, raising contracts that other teams maybe can't afford because they don't have the cash.
What kind of IG content you got for me that you've been teasing?
Oh my gosh, I have so many for you. Where should we begin? Should we do Lamar Jackson? The weather, what are those called? Weatherman. Weatherman, yes. All I had to do was add man. Okay, Lamar Jackson, the weatherman on IG has me dying over here.
Give y'all the weather forecast and sun in South Florida right now, cuz it ain't no breeze coming through right now. We ain't getting that little cool. We getting breath right now. We getting that type of weather right now. It's that hot. We getting breath hot. We ain't getting no little cool little. We getting
What's so funny, Bobby, is like when he says that, it makes so much sense. Like when you are in a humid, hot area like Florida, it just feels like everything is sticking on you and like somebody's just breathing bad breath on you and it's just sticking to you. Whereas like a breeze, it's like it cools you down or whatever. So I can't believe it's so relatable. Like I totally hear it and get it the moment he did it. And it sounds like Florida weather for sure in the summer.
Part of my ritual, my Alexa, the Amazon Alexa, every morning the last few weeks, just trying to get myself mentally ready for St. Pete and get accustomed to what's going to be going on down there climate-wise. I ask Alexa, what's the weather in St. Pete, Florida today? And this morning it spat back 81 degrees at 8 a.m. with a high of 90. So it's like just trying to figure out. And then I was like, all right, Alexa, tell me the temperature in Albany, New York today, 8 a.m. 52 degrees. High of 78 though. So there you go.
I gotta tell you, I love that 80, 90-degree weather,
Yeah.
especially if I'm at the pool.
And I was
day long.
trying to explain to my mom today that there's something that feels healthy about a good sweat.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about a sweat when you're in a suit. I don't know about a sweat when you're in nice clothing. I don't know about a sweat when you're in a packed area.
Yeah.
But when there's a breeze and you're sweating in the middle of the workout, like I want to do on the sand, once I
Mhm.
get down there, get some sand workouts in, like that feels to me like, and then you replenish yourself afterwards with some watermelon, some water, some Gatorade. It kind of gets me fired up.
Yeah.
Just getting fired up thinking about it right now.
There you go. See, now I can do that weather, like I said, like 80 or 90, but my sister lives in Arizona. When it hits 120,
Yeah.
I'm out. I cannot do that.
Is it
120
a dry heat?
it's a dry heat.
It's dry heat. Yeah.
And so your hair feels like it's like gonna just like fall out. It's all crunchy.
Yeah.
It's another level.
Yeah. All right.
I'll take the 90 humidity. Okay. We got a couple Odafe Owe IG updates. Oh my gosh, it's 125. We've had so much content today. First of all, listen, Odafe Owe this offseason is gonna play hard and he's gonna work hard. So here he is on the back of what looks to be a beautiful boat in the ocean and does a backflip right off. This 250 pound, 6 foot, whatever offensive lineman.
Total specimen.
And then, but don't worry, he might be out on the boat, but he's also on the field.
Oh, that's cool.
His workouts,
that's a cool drill right there.
I don't even know what it's called because I'm not a pass rusher.
I like that drill. We should get Chuck. We got to get Chuck on here.
Sure.
Got to find a way to get Chuck on here.
Sure.
So yeah, to your point, doing a little bit of both, right?
Work hard, play hard. It's a perfect off season.
Man, that water, the color of that water.
Look at this water.
Oh man.
That is turquoise right there.
Come on, where is this dude? That's a beautiful. Looks like you're right. All you got to see is the steps. Though that boat looks beautiful. Absolutely.
Listen. I can't do a backflip off a boat, but I also can't sack quarterback. So I'm going to go ahead and like that backflip was a little crooked.
It was slightly crooked.
You might give it like a 5 out of 10.
There he is midair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but doing a little bit of both.
Maybe
enjoying
the pass rush skills, give that maybe a 9.5 out of 10 because you can always get better.
Okay.
But the backflip, I give it like a 5 out of 10. Got to straighten that out.
Now, the one you wanted me to see more than anything else, though, was...
Okay, so I was going to bring this in during the Sirianni thing. So apparently the Philadelphia Eagles, this is not Ravens related, but the Philadelphia Eagles played some basketball. And I loved this Saquon Barkley alley-oop to Cooper Kupp going into his second year. You haven't seen it, right? Have you seen it?
To Cooper. So
Did I say Cooper Kupp again?
It's the Gene. The Gene. I got you.
I
forgot
say it
about
so
that.
often. We all think, Cooper Kupp is a DB up in Eagles now. Up at the Eagles.
For a second, I forgot about that whole funny bit. That it wasn't even a bit; it was real. But
I wish it was a bit. I wish I could play it off as a bit.
The Gene, yeah. Cooper, the Gene, and Saquon are hanging out together. I got you.
Yes. Okay. Well, it's the whole Philadelphia Eagles team was playing basketball, but these two had a little something. Okay, here we go. I put the head on backwards for Saquon. The legs off the backboard.
Sarah, do yourself a favor and go watch. You don't have to do it, but just trust me. Cooper's high school basketball highlights.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I went down. That is unreal.
Bang!
The dude hangs up in the air for what feels like multiple seconds. He just glides and then slams that thing. Yeah, his high school highlights are a lot of that.
That's
high flying, acrobatic type stuff.
Not surprising.
So not surprising at all. That guy is a beast, and what a start to his NFL career. He'll take that and run. Happy birthday to Cheeto. Was it today?
It was the 24th.
Over the weekend. Yeah, happy birthday to the newest Ravens corner. Perhaps Brandon Stevens' replacement. See a lot of him this year. He's going to have a chance, Sarah. Going to have a chance, and obviously made one of your list there, your number 3 point on the veterans that you wanted to see for the first time at OTAs. So
Cheeto is officially 30 years old.
30 years old.
30 years old.
Gotcha. Hey, I got a couple shout outs that I would like to do. We have a super chat first to get us fully caught up to speed. I believe we got Dre's in there, so let's get Kobe's in as well. Final call for super chats and gift givings, by the way, before we jump. Kobe writes, the Steelers are committing franchise malpractice, I would think. Malfeasance? Is that a word?
I think that's what Kobe's trying to say here.
Wow.
Malfeasance? Malfeasance is a word.
Learn something new every day. Thanks,
You
Kobe.
never heard of the word malfeasance? I mean,
No.
I can't talk because I'm getting people's names wrong every other second, but I'm surprised you've never heard that word.
No, I would have thought it's malpractice, but maybe that's a synonym.
Well, the malpractice is usually what people say, franchise malpractice. Yes.
So malfeasance is what Kobe's going through here as he brings out his dictionary.
Okay.
Pursuing Aaron Rodgers instead of tanking in a quarterback-rich draft. And I am okay with that, he says. Appreciate you, Kobe. Sarah, 2 shout-outs from me. Both I think have nice meaning here. First and foremost, on Saturday, I returned my Xfinity modem to the Canton location. And I was really pleased that when I walked in, not only was I greeted with great service, but by 3 Vault subscribers who are all extremely loyal viewers of ours by the names of Paris, Jordan, and Darrell. Super kind people, young people. They work at the Xfinity in Canton. I left a review for them online. It was great to chat with them in person for a few minutes. They, as it tends to do when I'm in the Baltimore area, being that my background is in radio, people don't recognize me by my face. They'll kind of stop what they're doing and recognize me by my voice. Maybe that would be same for you if you were to live in the area.
Right.
But I just wanted to shout them out because they love what we do and they're super loyal to us. And I had a nice chat with them. They wanted me to extend hello and to you, which I did over text. And it was just a nice little Saturday hangout that ended up occurring in the Xfinity Live spot there. So yeah, shout out to them.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool. They were very inquisitive, curious, wanted to know everything about the show, and it was awesome to catch up with them. And then my guy Rob, who is showing up as Yasir, not sure if that's his code name, but this is my mechanic. Rob works for Preston Automotive Group, and that's one of my sponsorships. And Sarah, they do mobile servicing. And Rob ended up coming out to my place last week, and he's hysterical because he's a Ravens fan, and he has him going 10-7, as he told me in my Instagram video. I told him 12-5, and that you were 13-4. He likes the underdog. He's going with 10-7. Didn't tell me what the specific 7 losses were, but did a great job on the Bronco, and I wanted to shout him out because he's one of our newest subscribers. He was not subscribed at the time of the servicing until I took him over, pushed him up against the corner and said, subscribe. I didn't do that, but appreciate you, Rob. Thanks for taking good care of the Bronco.
Very nice. Good shout outs there. Was that your one more thing? Was the shout out your one more thing?
I guess today it will be. I don't have any other. I'm sure there's other ones that are on my mind, but honestly, first of all, Kobe threw in another one. First of all, a super chat that is saying that he's apologizing for the word malfeasance and says I'm a lawyer for a day job, so that kind of checks out. Appreciate you, Kobe. Never be sorry.
That does check out because Mr. Trace Bien, a member, said malfeasance equals it's a noun. Law, the performance of an act that is legally unjustified, harmful, or contrary to law, especially by a public official or a person in a position of public trust. So that puts it together. Kobe says he's a lawyer. Mr. Trace gives us the lawyer definition.
Yeah, that connects the dots.
Legally unjustified and harmful is basically what he's saying.
Correct. DRE Dog 679 chimes in again. He's dumped a few in today.
Thank you, Dre.
When you two go do other shows like radio and stuff, please let us know so we can support.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. Did you let the Columbus people know of our connection? My connection with Anthony Rothman?
I didn't even need to. He had jokes ready for you. Have I not told you about this yet?
No, we never talked about it.
Well, here's what's funny. So for those that don't know, I went on the Fan here in Columbus. I go on the Fan in Baltimore, semi-frequently. And it's, who is it? Anthony Rothman?
Rothman.
Anthony Rothman. I hear awesome things from him. What's funny is I never listen to it because I'm always trying to get Baltimore Ravens content, and I'm not getting it from here in Columbus on the radio. So I really don't listen to it a lot. But when I first went on, he's like introducing me, and part of his introduction is that he said that he felt sorry for me because of the co-host that I have.
Oh yeah, there he goes. Throwing darts.
Which is hilarious because you told me before I went on to tell him that you miss him and love him. So I was like, this is going to be quite the contrast. I wonder if he's going to feel bad after he just dunked on you. And I was like, just so you know, Bobby, you're making fun of him, but Bobby said that he loves you and misses you. And like this and that. And then at the end, he brought you up again. I'm trying to remember what it was, but here's what's funny. So my neighbor who lives in the neighborhood, he helps fundraise for the NIL money for OSU players. And so he knows Anthony, and he's been begging Anthony to have me on forever. He's like, when are you guys going to do a segment on the Ravens? You got to have on Sarah Ellison, yada, yada, yada. So they finally do a segment on the Ravens, and they have me on. But my neighbor knows my love, obviously, for Lamar with the Ravens. And he knows my love for Steve Young, going back to my BYU days and when he played college football at BYU. So my neighbor, and I didn't know this, my neighbor says to him, hey, can you put in a question that says, hey, with 2 minutes left and you're down by a touchdown, do you want prime Lamar Jackson with the ball, or do you want prime Steve Young with the ball? Like, he asked me that. And I was like, I just started laughing. I was like, how could you ask me that question? He's like, no, I'm just messing with you. He's like, you don't have to answer it, yada, yada, yada. And so he's like, I've done my research. I know that you're a BYU Cougar. And, anyway, we ended up hanging up. As soon as I finished the radio spot, my neighbor texts me and he's like, did you like my question? I was like,
that's awesome.
You set me up. You set me up.
Absolutely love it. Did you answer it?
No, he didn't even give me time to answer it. And I don't which I'm glad for. I don't need to answer questions like that. Steve Young and Lamar Jackson?
That's hysterical. But now the whole chat wants to know the answer. You may have to take some time and make it your one more thing tomorrow.
I will decide my own one more things. And this one might not be it because I don't want to answer it. Hey, real quick. It's funny. Usually people are commenting on your clothing. I saw at the beginning of the show, there was a lot of chatter. I just wanted people to know this is actually a dress. I think it looks much better as like the whole thing, but it's one of those like spring/summer dresses, So it goes like all the way down. You know what I mean?
There you go. Look at you.
It's like one of those long ones. So it looks I think a lot better as like the whole thing rather than just, the top portion. So
how about the topic change? Can everybody, can we all acknowledge the topic change? If it were me, I'd be getting hammered right now. Answer the question. You're a wuss.
Yeah, but at least these guys know, though. Here's where I think there's a slight difference. These guys, I think, also respect Steve Young because he's been on the show, and they got to respect like the college ties, and he's in the Hall of Fame, and he loves Lamar. He's rooting for Lamar. So I think people at least like respect, like they could see where I might be torn. I don't know. Some of the guys that you're torn on, I don't even get.
You look very summery. So good stuff.
That's the point. I'm trying to will summer. And because I was outside at barbecues all day yesterday, I got a little bit of sun. I don't know if you can see I got a little bit of sun there. Yeah. I'm just trying to will summer in here. And some days you just feel like sweats. And some days you just want to dress up. I literally have no reason to have this dress on other than I just felt like it.
Let's go. I think you're ready to roll. Let's get some patrons in here before we jump. Mark Pankhurst, Chris Gagnon, thank you both for believing in what we're building. You guys are part of our Vault Patreon community, which we appreciate very much. Thank you for all the support. And if you guys are interested in doing the same, visit patreon.com/Ravens Vault podcast to learn more about what we're offering. Be back in under 23 hours from now. You guys know the drill. It'll be a Wednesday. It's one of those weird weeks where you have to remind yourself tomorrow is Wednesday. So this week is going to fly. We have OTAs to get into, which we will cover thoroughly throughout the week. Partner, appreciate you as always. Great start to the week. Thank you all for hanging with us on the way out. If you could, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're dropping our daily live content. And come on back tomorrow and join us in under 23 hours from right now. And as always, thanks for spending some time with us here inside the vault. We'll talk to you then. Later.